everybody. Welcome back to the Arcane Archive presents Cautionary Chronicles. That's right. We're back with another incredible series of stories and tales of the tallest aptitude for you guys, your enjoyment, your cringe, just to elicit some sort of an emotional reaction in you if we can help it. That's always what we want, you know. Hopefully always for the better overall, for educational purposes, for those people who might just maybe need a little bit of a cry every now and then, you know, a nice cathartic experience. It helps the soul overall, we promise. That being the case, we do have quite an interesting round of picks for you today. We're going to have fun. We're going to cry a little bit. I think it's going to be kind of a bit of a roller coaster here and there, you know? So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Let's go ahead and kick off today's story. Sammy, would you like to take it away for us?
Oh, sure. You give me the racist one.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like it just fits.
I feel like I can relate to this. Who knows?
To be fair, you chose most of these.
I
so,
did.
you know, you only have yourself to blame.
I did. That's fine. All right. This is by Educational Party 239, titled D&D player spams a racial slur in the Discord chat because DM wouldn't RP his sexual fantasy. Now, I've been in a couple Discord chats where people spam racial slurs, but it was never because nobody wanted to play out ERP with them.
Yeah.
So this is a new one for me. So this sounds like a tantrum. So this happened about a year ago. I was playing a campaign over Discord with some people I knew from various hobbies, meme and gaming channels. We set up a D&D game after DM had this idea of a political intrigue campaign. Love that. So the campaign begins with an elf emperor ruling over the people of his vast empire of humans, elves, halflings, orcs, tieflings, dragonborns, etc. It sounds like just a veritable cornucopia of peoples. There was a brewing succession crisis among the ruling house of the emperor because he was dying. So the other houses sought to take advantage of the situation to gain more power. Our party started off in the court of the emperor as we met each other. Human bard me, an elf warlock, dragonborn sorcerer, and a half-elf cleric.
Okay.
The elf warlock insisted that he be granted a role in the royal family in his backstory. The DM was not too crazy about the idea, as he didn't want to give any one player that kind of leverage and centrality in the story from the get-go. This made the elf warlock angry, as he thought the DM was crapping on his backstory. This led to a huge fight, and the warlock almost ended up leaving, but they ended up compromising on letting the elf warlock be an unrecognized bastard of this elven emperor.
Oh boy.
The emperor didn't even know he existed. Just off the bat, the idea sounds really fun. I like this idea a lot. If it was DM'd correctly.
Yeah, I love this premise.
I also completely understand not wanting to give a single character that kind of connection.
No.
Now in the group I play in, I don't think doing that would have been detrimental to the game, but I know these people for years. This obviously is not the case for these people.
Yeah.
Because that would be really cool to have that kind of in or that kind of connection, even if it's not something you can use all the time. It's just cool to have. This may have been his first mistake, as the elf warlock still developed the exact kind of main character syndrome the DM was afraid of. As we traveled throughout the land, thwarting the schemes of other houses, cults, and monsters, trying to tear the empire apart, the elf warlock kept trying to make every chance he got to engage with the royal family about his royal blood and his desire to seize power once his father dies.
Yep.
This kind of overshadowed much of the really interesting storyline we were trying to engage with in regards to the main Imperial plotline, as he would shut down dialogue that wasn't about him and his ambitions and murder NPCs that denied his claim. And he would yell at us when we called him out on it. DM did a good job, though, in all fairness, to not allow his antics to derail the story too much, but oh boy, did the elf warlock give him a hard time. While the party did make quite a few allies and hoarded items, gold, and magic items, so when we did return to the capital to stop an evil wizard attempting to start a civil war, as the emperor was days away from passing, the elven warlock believed he could basically just commandeer the party's resources and try to take power. He pressed his claim and declared himself son of the emperor. His claim was laughed out of court because he was illegitimate. Most courtiers and nobles outright disbelieved his claim, so the elf warlock then declares that he will marry the emperor's youngest daughter, who was still unmarried. This would have been his sister.
You know, shiz. What the? Wow.
Now, okay. I'm going to point this out. Throughout history,
Yeah.
And in a lot of fantasy things, this happens.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. It's
and
not like it's
whatever,
a
like
sudden whatever.
you
But
can
what I don't
step
here's
over
the
that
thing.
and still be like, you fucking weirdo.
Here's the thing that I don't understand. If you were just gonna try and marry the daughter in it, why didn't you just make yourself a noble? Why did you have to be part of the royal family?
That's a
Make
really good point, Adam. I think this was his backup plan. He offered her a magic ring as a dowry that her house had lost thousands of years ago. Now that is a good plan. Unfortunately, the DM laughed, but had him roll for it. You shouldn't have done that.
Nope, you should have just let it go.
Which he rolled a natural 20. You really shouldn't have done that.
Yep. Yep.
The DM was not expecting this, but allowed him to marry her. He did say though that if he had rolled even 1 point lower, it would have been a no.
You still should have.
So we've talked about this before. There shouldn't have been a roll there, but I will say, I'm gonna put myself on blast here. I have done this before, where I told someone to roll something and I just shouldn't have. It's hard as a DM, and I'm not as experienced as Adam or the people that DM for me. I make this mistake fairly often. It's just something you learn. Unfortunately, I understand him also honoring it as it was a natural 20.
I know, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong.
It doesn't mean anything in skill checks. So
I know, I get it. Don't get me wrong.
Sucks.
I'm absolutely an advocate. Like, I personally do like the idea of like natural 20s having an effect. Yeah. Like natural 20s and natural ones for that matter having an effect in the game, because it is just, I feel like, a much more dynamic, interesting way to play the game, because it is just like, hey, you did something miraculous, right? You not only are just like really good at this thing, but if you roll a 20, I mean, that's all luck based. You did something miraculous. And so it's like, but at the same token, there are some things that you cannot get past. There is a line there where it's like, doesn't matter what you roll for this, it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry to tell you. You cannot just force something to happen the way you want it to with a roll of the dice. Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you.
We've had this conversation with charisma checks for a long time.
And it's just like
throughout our breadth of videos at this point, and what that actually means and what it's actually supposed to do. And this is not it. Just a little warning, it's about to get a little bit graphic. So they wed, and after the wedding, the warlock says, I take my new bride to my quarters and I start ripping off her clothes. As I kiss, she moans in, and then the DM cuts him off. I'm not gonna say it all. I really don't want to. All right, y'all do it. Everyone gets a long rest. Now the emperor dies the next morning. He's alerted by the king's guard as Enron, the aforementioned wizard, is nowhere to be found. The elf warlock then chimes in, well, wait a minute, you just skipped over the best part.
Oh my god!
The DM said, sorry, but I ain't going into all that. And the elf warlock said, what the fuck? This is an essential part of my story. I specifically made this guy for the princess. Ew.
That's what I'm saying. If he already made this guy for the prince, why did you have to make the why?
Are you perchance a fan of Japanese manga?
Make him just a noble.
The DM just kind of let his grievances out about his behavior all game and said, D&D isn't about your story and your fantasies. Try thinking about other people in the campaign for once. And the elf warlock retorted that D&D is supposed to fulfill your fantasies to a degree, and the DMs are supposed to serve the player. What are you, fucking Karen at a restaurant? It's basically so unfair how you're treating me, but of course you aren't going to take valid criticism because you're too much of a smug power tripping type. The DM just started getting pissed himself, and they went back and forth and got angry, and the DM just eventually said, look, I'm not ERPing your sister fetish. Don't like it. Find another campaign. The elf warlock finally said, fuck your rules. In fact, and he started spamming in chat a certain racial slur that begins with an N, hard R, as we were all yelling at him, and then he says, that's what I think of your fucking rules, you piece of shit. And he gets banned. The DM apologizes for letting an asshole like that dominate the story and says he should have reined in his all about me bullshit much sooner. We all tell him it's okay, and you can't always predict assholes. Some people will take advantage regardless of the rules. We ended up ending that session and just laughing and sharing memes. And next session, he has the elf warlock die of a farting disease off screen, as the rest of us got back to hunting down Enron.
I think you got off easy with a farting disease.
I don't know. Imagine you fart yourself to death. It doesn't sound pleasant for anyone.
No, but I feel like there could be so much worse things. Like I
got to give props to this group and the DM who, got him to leave, and then we're like, all right, back to business.
Yep. I mean, so yeah, this whole thing here, they literally like try to make him feel better. Like, you can't always predict assholes. You didn't have to predict it. He was showcasing it right from jump almost, where like it's like, dude, you're coming into this world and you have an idea for your character. That's great. That's beautiful. We love that. But the whole point is that you cannot be getting a fucking problem coming into somebody else's created world and them not fully agreeing with what you're trying to do here. It's like, look, you gotta work together, okay? For like, biggest thing right off the bat, if you have a player come into a game and they're sitting here being like, well, this is the character I made, this is the character I want to play, you have to approve it, or and it's like that right there is almost total grounds for termination immediately. I'm just like, no, you're not joining this. Like, it would be one thing if he came in here and he was again offering some ideas on like, hey, this is the overall outline, or like even maybe more of the specific thing that I wanted to do or try. Like, is that gonna work? Is that cool? Anything else? Like, I can maybe make some tweaks or some alterations. And the GM's just like, no, that doesn't work. You can only play this and do this one thing here because I say so. That's the other side of that, right? Where you're just like, probably best for you just not to join. It's still same thing. Probably best for you not to join that group because that sounds horrible. Either way, the answer is the same, is that if there is a problem at literal character creation and it's blowing into this astronomically like out of proportion, whatever, I like it was, again, it wasn't even about predicting an asshole. He was showing almost his whole ass right away. I don't understand why this was allowed, because I feel like, hang on, how many of them? There was 1, 2, 3, there was 4 of them. You can still have an amazing freaking campaign with 3 players. Easy. 3 is a great number. 4 is probably like, pretty peak. 4 is probably like the pretty like golden sweet spot, sure. But 3 is still great. You did not have to put up with this dude's bullshit, especially when it's like, oh, you compromised by saying he is a long lost son of, like, again, that definitely still gives him the ammunition that he's looking for that entire thing. It's like, come on, man. Come on, bro. God damn it, dude.
It's great.
I
really don't even really have much to add to it because most likely this wasn't even real. But if it was, good on y'all. It's hard to know, but yeah, that's I think for me it's the self-reporting of, I made this character just for her. Like, you fucking creep. Ew.
I mean, again, if he was away, that makes it all the worse that he wanted to be related to her. It's like, if you what? Oh, my brain, my ears. I want to scrub my brain of at least that sentence alone. I'm just like, holy shit bucket, bro. What again? What is the plan? And I love it. I love how he says it down here where he's just like, freaking D&D is supposed to fulfill your fantasies to a good degree. Now, here's the thing. Sure, yeah, he's not technically wrong about that. D&D it's literally a fantasy game that you use to fulfill some of your fantasies, for sure. Not your fetishes, though.
Oh, I thought your mic
Excuse me
broke. You cut that out.
No. I just I muted myself. Hang on.
That was amazing. Oh, you did really good there, bud. That was fantastic.
Not your fetishes, though. Okay, it's not meant, or at least not unless everyone at the table consents to that. You can probably find groups and campaigns that are specifically tailored and designed to have that kind of fantasy and that expression. You know what? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Just stop trying to enforce it and like plant it into a campaign where that was not discussed or approved or consented to. I really don't understand what's so hard or difficult about that. Like, I feel like, again, it's literally part of the kink or the fetish for people to just try to forcefully throw it onto people. It's like a weird kind of like voyeurism kind of thing, except, more abstract, maybe. I don't know. But it's like that. Stop, please. God damn it, dude. Like, just, the narcissism, the selfishness and the narcissism is crazy. And I've been experiencing that a lot, like, directly lately from people where I've been interacting with a lot of people who are just really coming off just being incredibly selfish or narcissistic in nature. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, like, because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do with that. When people are just like, because again, they literally tried to talk about this to him, and he just is. I mean, hell, he literally said this is the best part that he gets to describe. Not even that he actually got the princess. He did it. He rolled a nat 20. He against all odds, miracle of miracles, he wed his sister. Great, awesome, cool. And now he gets to bed his sister.
Cool.
Cool. Good for you, bud. Good for you. And then the DM allowed that. He allowed that. And then dude was literally just like, yeah, I start doing all this. It's like, bro.
Oh, by the way, D&D Beyond's up.
Oh,
for the new book. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they went back on their thing before.
My character sheet works. That's all.
Yeah, no. That's what, I mean, I knew they were. I knew that they weren't gonna replace everything because again, after the whole jail fiasco, like this, like people were going to again, like absolutely rebel once again. It was a stupid decision, a stupid thing for them to say. So like they weren't gonna do that because it's it makes no sense at all. Anywho, this entire thing is just like. Yeah, I don't understand people who are like this. I'm having already a visceral reaction because I've had to been dealing with people who seem to have again the same kind of rationalization as this guy. I'm just like, but this is what I want. This is what I like. This is what I feel, and so therefore I'm justified. Go F yourself in the A, bro. God damn it. Let's move on to the next one. This one is titled Toxic DM and Group. Now, for all of you, buckle up a bit. This one is rather sad. I saw this one and I was like, I got hit right in the feels. This is by OP Honey Yalis. It's not super long. It's very kind of simple and actually just straight to the point. But I personally just felt like a lot of this is very unfortunate how this happens. Just a little bit of a heads up. There's a bit of an essay warning. It's not, again, graphic or anything, but just for anybody for a trigger warning. So, for context, this is about a group I was in a few years ago. I've since learned to spot red flags, and I found a great group to play with now. I just thought that I'd share this experience to maybe help anyone else in a similar situation. I had recently moved across the country and wanted to get back into D&D, so I searched online and found a group with an experienced GM that were planning on starting a new campaign. Things started off fantastic. The group got along, our characters vibed with each other, and the GM ran a great game. Things started getting a bit dicey when my character and another started to get romantic feelings for one another. I was fine with this. What I wasn't fine with was when the GM took it upon himself to further the innocent roleplay with, let's see if you guys spend the night together. And then with a, let's see how good the whoopee was. Now, I wasn't the only girl in this group. But the other girl who was a part of the group seemed to just keep egging the GM on. I was uncomfortable with all of this, but I brushed it off, wanting to keep the peace and to keep playing the campaign. This happened a few more times, but eventually the campaign ended and we were going to use the same characters for a continuation. That is, until the GM decided to make my character pregnant without my consent. He started telling me that I had disadvantage on certain rolls, that I had to make con saves when I was eating. Then, at some point, he just flat out tells me that my character is pregnant with essentially the explanation of, well, what did you expect when you have sex? I was utterly devastated and had to make a new character. And this new character, suddenly the other players said they didn't like and would constantly undermine me. The GM then brought my first character back as an NPC, made her give birth, and then killed her in said process of giving birth. Well, why? What? I tried to keep playing with my new character, but because I was playing as a guy, I think they decided it wasn't worth having me in the group. During combat, if I got surrounded, they'd run away, using me as bait. If I thought up a solution for a puzzle, suddenly they wouldn't listen. I ended up leaving because it was no longer fun to play. To be clear, I think the shift in reception of my new character was because my GM started requiring us, somehow, to be on camera while playing after I created my new character. And I think the guys disliked my appearance and thus started treating me poorly. I'm glad I didn't just give up on playing though, because the group I'm in now is amazing, and I couldn't love D&D more. No, a little bit of a happy ending there. End post.
Yeah, yeah. I to not to be devil's advocate here, ignoring the entire first bit of this, the whole requiring camera thing. How do you feel about that? Because in my group, obviously we know each other, so it's a little bit different. We push for it for two reasons. One, it's really not that fucking hard, and we all have cameras. I know we all have cameras. And two, I think it ups player interaction. We're playing over the internet. It's already tough enough for roleplay and stuff like that because you're not with each other. And I think the camera helps, or it can help. It's not the same for everybody, obviously. But for me, the thing I hate more than anything is it's literally 6 of us in the DM, and it's just me and one other guy on our cameras, and everyone else is just nowhere to be found.
I mean, for me, like I don't particularly feel like it's a requirement at all. I both of the campaigns I'm a part of online, we don't use cameras for it. I definitely do agree with you though, in that I feel like using cameras can absolutely help to bring people more into it. It can help with engagement. It can help maybe keep track of people who might not be feeling as like involved. Like again, if people are maybe like drifting off or not paying attention.
Yeah, obviously there's caveats there. Like if you don't know each other, like, if
Yeah,
you're a
I
bunch
mean,
of strangers on the internet.
that's what I mean. Like that's I obviously I feel like that's what this kind of was too. So that makes more sense also as well. Like, if you don't, I feel like maybe after you've maybe gotten to know each other better over time, you can maybe start playing with cameras and that can help too. But it's like, it can also, for some people, it can throw people off. It can have the opposite effect. Because they feel like they can be more scrutinized, and because people can like see them more, they get, more stage fright. They might not be able to come out of their shell more potentially. So there's all different kinds. I personally don't feel like it's a requirement or a necessity for cameras. But I definitely don't mind it. I think it can absolutely add to the, role play element and effect quite well, because you can see people's expressions. You can see people's like it can really human it can really what's the word I'm looking for, Sammy? When you make something
There's a
human.
human. It's a human connection.
Yeah,
It's
it
more.
can help make things feel more human and more personable. It can make him feel like, okay, I can see this
There's a
person.
person on the other side of the screen. I'm
Yeah.
not.
And obviously, there's a lot that can be maybe misinterpreted at times, just even through verbal communication, where you can't necessarily see somebody, physically, some of their like reactions or responses
Yeah.
or whatever to certain things that are being said or done. But overall, I don't think I would ever say it should be a requirement in any game. Like I don't like if you're comfortable with that, absolutely hit it up, have a great time with it. But I don't think it should ever be a requirement, because again, even to her point here, it's like she feels that potentially everybody's reaction and treatment of her vastly changed when they saw how she looked and didn't necessarily like her appearance. Now, that could be the case, maybe. I mean, I'm sure it
Probably happened
obviously.
before.
I was gonna say, I'm sure plenty of people do, have a
Similar to
certain
video
fantasy
games.
or image. Yeah, they have a certain
Yeah.
fantasy or imagery in their head about maybe how someone looks, especially if they hear how they sound. And when you see that thing, because you put them maybe up on a pedestal that was completely unrealistic and unfair to begin with, you see them and you're just like, oh, my dreams, my hopes,
Well, that's
my
the same.
fantasies. And then you're just like, and then yeah, you feel this sense of disappointment because this person didn't live up to your unreal fantasy, maybe even fetishized
Well, that's creepy.
expectations.
Creepy people who play video games and stuff like that. Like it's you see that a lot in like online gaming as well. Like it
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if it was very similar in
No,
this
I would
instance.
agree, especially if again especially if you are in a group where not only are like the only other girl in the group is also egging the GM on to like basically make her character sleep around, or not even sleep around necessarily, but just to basically have sex and do all of this stuff and then to get her pregnant. Like this group was already showcasing vast amounts of red flag signs of just like
Also, like way
this.
to support a sister there. Like you're terrible. This
Well,
this hobby doesn't is disproportionately inhabited by men.
yeah.
as is a lot of online stuff.
And
And
a
like,
lot, well, a lot of
come
nerd
on,
stuff,
man,
a lot
come
of
on, like
nerd based kind of
that's
stuff.
so fucking
And
disappointing to hear.
well, again, the irony of it is that she may have even done it exactly because maybe the OP was somehow receiving more favorable treatment initially from
Maybe,
the guys because of how she sounded and how they thought that she would look like. And then the other,
it's
maybe she was
possible.
feeling jealous or feeling bitter about that. And so when the GM was screwing with her, kept egging him on to turn up the ante. And then, I would be
Yeah.
interested to know exactly like a little bit more details because it's hard to say for certain. Because it
Yeah.
also, I'm not saying that it is, but it is also possible that the OP maybe is like jumping to conclusions about this. Maybe because she feels self-conscious about herself, and she feels like, okay, the only reason I can see that they maybe started treating me differently is because they saw my appearance, and so now because they don't think I'm attractive or something, they're treating me poorly. And it's
I
like,
mean,
again, it could be.
as reasonable
It's
or unreasonable
yeah,
as it might be, it's still the
it's
fact was being treated differently for
yeah.
seemingly no real reason.
So it's like, obviously with all of these stories, you got to take them a little bit with a grain of salt because you just never know for certain. But I feel like based off of everything that I'm aware of and things I've seen and experienced, like I'm at liberty to believe OP. Like I would people can absolutely be that shitty. And they can absolutely do stuff like this where they're like screwing with her character without her consent and doing all of this shit where just and it's just ugh, it's just sad. It's sad to see, but I'm happy that OP was able to find an actual good group where she loves D&D now and she's being treated with the respect that she deserves and the consideration that she deserves. And it's just unfortunate that shit like this has to happen. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, even one of the top voted comment down here was just like, yo, that's super awkward. And to be fair, there's also a very long use of birth control throughout the ages, like literally. And this is also a freaking land of magic make believe. Like how hard would it be for people to just magically create some birth control or something? Hell, just take herbs like maidenweed. It's literally called maidenweed, and that helps with that whole thing there, where you just you eat some of that before you engage or whatever.
I
Bam.
mean, hell, they used to do some crazy shit, like eat poison ostensibly
No, that's what
to
I mean. I mean, the dude
kill. Well,
says it.
like it sucks, but like it's a real thing, and
Yeah.
like not to get dark about it, but like that's something. Again, at the end of the day, this is taking away player agency, which we hate, and doing something that could have been, even with the OP being uncomfortable. This could have just ended as a funny joke, as a
Yeah.
haha, we all know what you did, haha moment.
Yeah.
But then it was pushed into something for seemingly no reason,
It just
as like
started
a
becoming,
it
yeah,
was
like
like
a
almost
prank.
like a punishment for
Well,
what?
it eventually became that way. Like even like hell, the this commenter also says something else that I think is actually incredibly important to remember for everybody is even when people do have sex without birth control, it doesn't necessarily mean that a baby will always happen. That's
No,
also true too. It's like just because even if you might have sex without birth control or without any kind of protection or whatever, like that is not automatically going to result in a pregnancy. It's not necessarily even going to mean that it is a super high chance for a
no,
pregnancy
there's there's a
as
lot of
long as you're being
misconceptions.
aware and conscious of what's happening and what you're doing. Like
Yeah,
it's not. And
because you know what? If that was the case, I'd have a lot of friends with unwanted children,
there you
and
go.
that's and that's not me trying to dog on anyone. It's just like
No,
no, I know people who don't make the most educational choices, the most well-informed
sure.
decisions, and I'd probably have some babysitting shifts if that's how things went. If oh, I had sex, now I have now I have baby.
Yeah,
No, that's not how it works. There's a
it's
lot of
not
things that
that.
go into it, and this was just
Yeah,
used as a weird punishment, which I don't understand.
like it's. Oh my
Hmm.
god! What are the comments down here? I'm
You see fetus
hesitating.
deletus?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sammy, we shouldn't necessarily say. Dude
Why?
literally goes like, all right, it's already out there. We'll say he literally goes like, I'm pretty sure in a setting where magic exists, something akin to fetus deletus is a
It's a meme,
thing.
dude. It's a meme. You can say that on here. We've said worse.
Oh my goodness gracious. That was amazing. All right. With that, I think with fetus deletus, we can end
It
on
was like we're
that one there.
quoting. We're not saying it ourselves.
We can, yeah, absolutely. This is someone else's quote. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, Sam. Go ahead, take it away.
Sure. Fellow player doesn't respect personal space or boundaries
Good
in and out of game.
God. Oh, hey,
Turbulent
perfect.
ad 1772.
Yeah, a
Con-
little bit of a warning for people here as
yeah,
well.
it's a self-harm warning, and then also transphobia, acephobia, kind of. Um,
Just as a heads up for anybody, take a,
yeah,
take a moment here.
it's not too explicit. I read through it. If it was really that bad, I probably wouldn't have put it on the list.
Yeah, just
Um,
feel free to skip ahead if things get a bit too real for you at any point.
yeah. This is a long post and happened 2 years ago, so exact words may be paraphrased. Hi, I'm an avid Dungeons and Dragons player, having played in 3 campaigns, and I'm currently running a homebrewed campaign for close friends. This story is about the first campaign in which I played, which is still running, but with some people no longer able to play due to things popping up in their lives or being kicked out. That's kind of how it goes. For anonymity, here are the false names of the people and a loose overview of the characters they played. Me playing a female half-orc wild sorcerer, Noah, my friend who is playing a male elven warlock, Joe, the DM, who is a much more experienced D&D player than anyone else at the table, Craig, the problem player and creep,
Oh,
playing
it's
a
a Craig.
male circle of the moon druid, and Tilly, a friend who was the first person I came out to, playing a non-binary dragonborn bard. There were others at the table. The DM handled a large number really well, but I tried to keep as many people out of what happened as possible. And importantly, almost all of us at the table are members of the Alphabet Mafia. Awesome. Otherwise known as the LGBTQ plus community.
I love the way that they put that there, though. Hey, I respect it.
And now there's like 8 more letters.
Yep.
So about 2 years ago now, the first session starts with all aforementioned players apart from Craig. These sessions were very fun, as everyone was establishing their characters and everyone was having a good time, apart from a player who, outside of playing D&D, did a lot of shit things to our group. But they left the campaign quickly due to no one talking to them after people realized that they weren't the only person who had a problem with them. So it's like a collective push out of the group, which is fine.
Yeah.
After killing a hag and our warlock reading a letter about a wife who killed her 7 husbands and buried them in different areas, and my half-orc getting an obsession with rocks and crystals, we fought an ent, everything was good. Sounds like normal D&D mishaps. People were all happy with how the campaign was going, and everyone got their time to shine, including Tilly convincing a goblin to join our party by advertising it as a folk band.
A lot of crazy stuff. Wow.
Yeah, that's D&D for you. We come to session 5. Craig joins the campaign. Joe was pretty fine with letting people join and leave if they wanted to, as long as there weren't too many people. And with the previous problem player leaving and another player as well, Craig joined. Everyone in the group had talked to Craig in person at least once, but people were kind of about him. I, at the time, had spoken to him the most. His first conversation with me involved him walking up to me and saying, "I've heard you've seen some anime?" I had, as I had very little to watch over lockdown, so we talked a bit, and after talking about JoJo and My Hero, which I was trying to stop talking about because I mostly like the music, but he kept asking who would beat blank questions, which is fine. He just wouldn't let me talk about my friend, or talk. He wouldn't let me talk to my friends, basically taking up all of my time. Anyway, he left, and I was a bit confused because he didn't even ask my name, and I didn't know his. As the club was open for anyone to join, he appeared for the 5th session. Joe speaks after introducing Craig. You all walk up to a tavern called the Slaughtered Lamb, or something like that. You see smoke coming out of the chimney, and some cheers and sounds of glasses full of beer clinking together. Outside is a small stable containing a few pigs and 3 horses. Craig immediately breaks the silence when everyone is thinking what to do. Suddenly, one of the horses walks towards you, muscular and large. Its eyes look over at you and narrow on my character. The horse walks towards her and winks. My character, who isn't bright, and me being confused, casted mage armor, fearing a kick, and the spell went wild. Wild magic. After falling over due to grease, Craig turned into his druid form from the horse. He spent around 5 minutes describing his character's rugged looks and hair. Once again, it's fine, as no one knows what his character looks like. Before I can speak and say that I'm going to stand and enter the tavern, Craig continues. Orion, his character's name, looks towards my character and stretches out his burly arms and speaks sternly. Normally it takes longer for damsels to fall for me, but I won't complain.
Again, to be fair, it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Again, if you know the person, this is great. This is a great introduction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like the line itself isn't actually
not bad.
Terrible.
That's really not bad at all.
But it's weird. Like, again, it's just. I mean, again, it's not bad at first. Like I'm like, okay, that's not the worst
cheesy.
introduction. It's a
but
little
cheesy.
weird he came and winked as a horse at her, though.
I mean,
like,
I guess if you're gonna play a druid, you might, and you're playing a
yeah, it's still
charismatic druid.
funny. Like,
I'm not seeing
it's still funny. So
not too bad.
it's not the worst introduction, honestly. I was expecting way worse. I was like, okay, all right, all right.
The only thing I don't like is the cutting off of anyone saying anything else.
Yeah, that
but,
maybe going into a little bit too overly
it's not the
detail
worst
about his
thing.
character's looks.
Sure.
Like, but sure.
My character's wild magic accidentally goes off, and my character shoots a firebolt at him. It hits, but his only response is, ooh, a feisty one. I ignored him. Some of the table laughed, but Tilly and Noah didn't. Eventually, after a few comic hijinks with my half-orc sneaking through a tavern full of dwarven soldiers, who in the campaign were fighting orcs, and the sleep spell being incredibly useful, and stealing an artifact, the session ended.
I will say, I don't like that she attacked him right off the bat with that. Like, that's,
yeah.
I feel like that's a bit of an extreme reaction and not great. Because again,
yeah, well, it becomes justified.
It becomes it, but I still feel like she, like, that's a bit much right off the bat. Like, I'm feeling a little, I'm looking a little less towards the OP at that moment when that happens. Because it's like, he didn't actually do anything bad yet. He's just kind of been maybe a little bit socially unique, shall we say?
No, don't worry, it gets better.
All right, I figured.
The session ended. Waiting for my friends to pack up, I waited, but Craig stood holding the door for me, and I told him to just leave because I wanted to talk to Tilly and Noah about the session. Craig didn't leave. Craig waited and followed us on the walk out to where we were all going to part ways, driving, catching the bus, etc. Craig waited next to me as I waited for the bus. All my other friends had left, and I sat down waiting. Craig sat next to me and then rested his head on my shoulder. Ooh. Out of reflex, I shoved him off and he looked at me like I just killed his dog. Why'd you push me? Why'd you put your head on my shoulder? Because it's nice. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, firebolt justified. I just sat there in silence.
I mean, again, maybe not justified yet.
See,
this.
Adam, we're missing one key part here. What he sounded like.
Yeah,
We're reading text, right? We don't know how this person carries themselves.
Oh, I'm aware. Don't get me wrong.
that alone is enough context to be like, ew.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I definitely think it's like, it would be like a perfectly justified thing to like be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And he's like, oh, well, because it's nice. And it's like, well, that's not for you to do, though. You don't get to just, what? Like, again, like,
yeah, either way,
he's being weird, but
what should have happened instead of a firebolt, it should have just been a puff of flames, like a reactive, like
yeah, or like cast prestidigitation to like make the air around to maybe stink a little bit or something,
something less outwardly offensive. But again, it's D&D, things happen. But yeah, I sat there in silence, confused. My bus arrived and I went home. I told Tilly and Noah about what happened. Before next session, we hang out. Craig is invited. Not my idea, and I assumed he wouldn't be there. We were bowling, and it was nice until I remembered Craig was there. Occasionally, Craig tried to lean against me, or put his head on my shoulder, or hold my hands between throws. But I told him not to, otherwise I'd throw him down the bowling alley. He kept saying shit like, doesn't sound too bad to me. I didn't want to cause a fuss, and I didn't know what other people thought of him, so I just kept quiet. He also noticed some scars on my arms. Edit, I forgot to originally mention that when we all went bowling, I asked my friends to refer to me using she, her, and they, them pronouns. So Craig knew that I was trying to experiment with being away from being male.
It may have been a bit of a typo there.
Yeah, a little bit of a typo. Basically, OP did not want to be referred to as male. Next session and Craig's last. The session started with the party fighting a magically enhanced orc, who after being defeated was looted by Noah, who didn't realize he was only wearing a loincloth. After a few laughs, Craig's druid walks towards the body. I walk towards the body and lift up the cloth. You hear Orion laugh. Wow, it's so small. Orion looks at my character and winks. Again, weird. I said my character isn't listening and is already digging a grave by the road for the orc to rest in. No one really reacted, and the DM just carried on with the session, letting us investigate the carriages which the orc attacked, and eventually found a body of an NPC we've previously seen, our guildmaster. The session ends on that cliffhanger, and all the table is talking about how they could have died, and how are we going to investigate it, or if we should at all do the ominous note. Craig says that he thinks some other parties should be investigated and have things more worth looking into. Oh, the party should have investigated.
I think maybe that's what she means. Yeah.
Maybe proceeding to look at me. I decided to talk to him in private, so I asked him to come outside and I asked him to stop flirting with me and to not touch me. Otherwise, I'll tell the DM to kick him because I was sick of it. Craig just says,
Hell
it's
yeah, good
it's
for
only in
you.
game, and you're all right with me, so I thought leaning on you would be okay. Why would you think that? I've told you to stop leaning on me and stop flirting in game and in life. Well, no need to be so frigid. I just wanted to know you better. This pushed me a bit, and I think he saw that as he just said, well, I'm gay, and I was thinking that you may be interested. I'm a trans woman, but at the time, only out to a few of my friends, and I identify as Arrow Ace. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not interested, sorry. And I'm not sure how I identify either, so I want to find myself out before jumping into anything. I tried to be gentle with it, tried to get
That's
him to stop and
fair.
just leave the
Absolutely.
topic behind. Well, I'm actually bi, so whatever you are, it's good for me. I know you're a man anyway. Oh, Jesus Christ. And you're clearly not treating yourself right. I can help. He proceeded to
Yeah.
grab one of my arms, which we previously, there were scars present. I am not a fan of contact, but especially those areas for obvious reasons. I wanted to fucking slap him. So after I told Tilly what happened, I had to convince them not to go slap him for me. I told the DM what happened, but didn't mention the comment about my scars, and I never saw Craig at the table again. I blocked him on everything I could, and it was 2 years ago, I decided to post the story. I never really knew him and only knew him for about 3 months. Ever since, the table has been much nicer for me to play at, and it's felt much more fun as I don't have someone sat next to me, making other people move for himself to sit there, who makes me want to jump out a window. Someone new has joined to take his place, a boyfriend of another player who is much nicer and who I personally know much more than Craig. In game, the reason for Orion the Druid disappearing was that he tried his luck with a giant spider and didn't see the light of day again, which made a few people at the table chuckle. If I have any advice from my experience, if you have a problem with a player or just someone in a friend group, don't stay silent and speak out, as you may not be the only one with those feelings. And even if you are, your feelings and experience matter. I could have handled it way better, but I'm glad he stopped and left when he did. And having jokes and certain content in the campaign is fine as long as players are fine with it. Like the loincloth bit was funny until Craig talked about it and took it a bit too far. Ever since the experience, my campaign, playing and DMing, have been much more enjoyable, and I intend to continue this campaign, in which we are planning to assassinate a duke who has overthrown a previous lord's small army and intends to kill innocent orcs with them. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Like
I would,
this.
I would say, like, this is why you should carry a taser. Just
I
this
mean,
is
well,
me.
100%. I mean,
Don't fucking
taser,
touch
bear
me.
spray, pepper spray.
Don't touch
Like,
me.
yeah. Again, the biggest, most egregious thing is just the strange, like the hell the post says, like complete lack of any personal space or boundaries.
Yeah.
Like,
This
whereas
isn't the first
again,
story we've had like this either.
in the game, it's like, again, his first introduction wasn't the worst. It's like it actually showed a bit of personality, and while it came across as being like, maybe a bit what's the word I'm looking for, uh a bit slime bally a little bit, just like, a little bit, but that's also not a bad thing, where like people love those types of characters where they're kind of like, rather suggestive or a bit risque and stuff here. And it's like I feel like it could have been a really interesting, charismatic character. Problem being, though, is like, again, where does the mind come from? Literally walks up to this person, OP, and goes like, "Hey, so I heard you've seen some anime." Didn't ask it, like she said, didn't ask what's your name, who are you, what do you like, really, like, she told him like, these are the anime I've kind of watched and seen, and da 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 da. And again, here's the thing that I'm feeling towards this person. Like, I feel like Craig, there's something not quite right up here. I feel like there might be neurodivergent.
Oh, you
Potentially.
think?
But like, not, but again, but there's a difference between not being right up here and in terms of it being like, an actual, like an asshole, a person who's an actual dick, and someone I feel like Craig, like, all of this came across to me in a very innocent way, interestingly enough, despite the fact that a lot of his actions was decidedly problematic. But it's like, he, again, it almost comes off like he just, yeah, he just didn't understand somehow, where it was like, what are you doing? And he wouldn't listen. A lot of, like, he wouldn't hear OP when she would tell him, stop touching me. Stop doing that. Like, you cannot just rest your head on someone's shoulder who you don't really know. Like, and because here's the thing, I get the fact that like Craig was probably looking for some companionship, right? He was looking for probably some human connection, some comfort. And for whatever reason, he kind of just targeted OP with that and kind of just went full tilt immediately and just would not take no or reality for an answer. When it's like, dude, look, I get it. We all have those moments where maybe we're feeling really alone, and we're feeling kind of like cold, and we're feeling like we need some kind of actual, again, human connection. But you can't force that on somebody. That's not actual, real human connection. It's just you trying to force that your desires and your shit on this. Again, very narcissistic, but like I said, I feel like there's an actual difference between Craig and a lot of the other problematic individuals that we've talked about and seen, is that it at least to me, this comes off as being largely innocent, except for when, again, he's trying to physically like force himself on OP, where it's just like, I appreciate the thought. Like, she doesn't go into detail about what happened after he grabbed her arm again. Like, so again, I don't know if he like, if it was like if it was like a grab where he's just, I don't know if he like kind of just grabbed her arm again in an attempt to, I guess, do that thing that people do where it's like, you know, when you want to convey comfort, you know, you'll put like a hand on someone's shoulder, or you'll like, you know, like you'll kind of like grab their hand or whatever and stuff. And it's like, perhaps he was intending for that to be what it was, but because again, he is doing it without the actual, and even not only without consent, literally against what OP had just said. And the fact that OP also has a bit of like self-conscious things about, you know, her arms kind of being scarred a bit. Like, it to me, Craig just comes off as being a very innocent, but like completely either socially inept or just disregarding, like a very selfish individual, where you're just like, bro, you cannot, like, I get it. I understand that maybe you're hurting too. You know, maybe you're hurting, maybe you're super lonely, but this is not the way to go about it, dude. This is not it, man. I'm sorry to tell you, this is not it. I get it. You're desperate for some kind of.
I don't get it. This
I
is
mean,
just pathetic.
Well, sure, it's pathetic, but have you never been in a position where you are feeling just so disconnected, just whatever? I mean, hell, it might even exactly because he's got some maybe weird stuff going on up here that he can't relate or interact with people, and people treat him like a pariah and a fucking whatever, and it's like,
Sure, I mean, yeah, having those moments, but it doesn't mean you get to touch people.
no. Again, that in no way justifies his actions and decisions, because he's still overall making decisions, because again, his logic makes no sense.
No.
And he keeps saying, like, you know, he literally was just like, well, I'm gay, and I was thinking that, you know, you may be interested. And it's like, why though? Why? Because she talked to you? Because she didn't just blow you off right away? Because again, here's the thing, that is legitimately something that some guys think about women.
Yeah, not
Whereas
just
like
guys.
they
Just
get not
people.
just guys, to be fair, but I feel like it's more commonly a guy thing overall, where, you know, they do not have any real experience with women. You're kind of just passed over, ignored, but then like the one time a woman is just, or a girl is just nice to them, they're just treating them like a, you know, an or person. It's not indicative of interest or anything, but they take that shit and then they run with it. And then it's just like, they're like, oh my God, she was nice to me. She just acted like a normal person with me. She totally wants the D, bro. And it's like, dude, I understand, because again, you can only ever expect people to have awareness or understanding of certain things that they have a concept of, right? That they've had some experience in, right? A lot of men do not have any, like, ironically, don't have a lot of great experience with women a lot of the time. And it makes them do and react in all kinds of crazy assed up ways. And along with the fact that they might already kind of maybe not be entirely stable up here to begin with. And so I find it hard to just straight up demonize him completely, because it just seems like almost like he's just kind of pitiful to me. It just seems kind of sad and pitiful that he's, he's just looking for he's just so desperate that he's just completely disregarding shit that he shouldn't be. Again, it's not okay. And his decisions and choices here in no way, shape, or form truly help him. But I also am like, he just might need some help, man. Like, legitimately, he just might need some help. Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunate. Yeah. All right, let's unless you got something else, bud, we can go ahead and move on to the next one, I think. This one is titled When a GM Wants Their Overpowered Characters to Be the Protagonists. This happened several years ago, so there are details that I won't quite remember clearly. For a long time now, I hadn't played any role-playing games because all my experiences had ended in the first session or I had to leave due to something strange. You can have a romantic relationship with a 7-year-old girl, aka the GM. God, why? This game was posted in a Discord group I was a part of a while ago, and I thought, hey, why not? I sent a private message to the GM, and within 10 minutes, he said I was in. This should have been my first red flag. We didn't talk much, and the game was scheduled a couple of days later. It may not be necessarily a straight up red flag, but definitely, something that you can look back on and be like, that's why it was so quick. Second red flag. There was no session 0. Yeah, that's usually a problem. I knew nothing about the other characters, just the vague premise of the game. For various reasons, in this fantasy world, all the characters board a Zeppelin. What adventures and misventures await them? Justify why the PCs board the Zeppelin. Is it just a Zeppelin? Is there land beneath the Zeppelin? Is it just ocean? Why are we? You're telling me to justify why my PC is aboard the Zeppelin? I don't know. Why are all the characters aboard a Zeppelin? I don't remember what kind of character I had, but I know it was a bit of an unusual monk. And as a character, it was somewhat weak and not optimized. His story was simple. A butler for some nobles. The noble's daughter ran away from home by stealing a ticket for the Zeppelin, and he was tasked with finding her. Hey, I like that. That's pretty cool. That's a decent little thing there. The session starts, and the GM, without any warning, throws me into an unknown situation with my character running errands. I said, okay, it's just the prologue to my story, though a small heads up would have been nice. The PCs meet, and OP keeps putting weird spaces in between here with periods. A mysterious little girl appears, claiming to be an inquisitor, and says she's going to kill me for witchcraft. My character was like, wait, what? But I haven't done anything. The PCs split up, and I'm left alone. Another inquisitor appears, saying she's going to kill me, and I try to reason and wait for a fair trial. Wait, what? I'm confused about what's even happening right now. Combat starts, insta-kill. It wasn't even a critical hit. But before dying, another NPC appears and revives my character. What's happening? I feel like I'm having a stroke. She gives me a ticket for the Zeppelin and tells me to run. At this point, I was already a bit upset for 2 reasons. First, the story of my character was changed without informing me or giving a warning or any kind of communication whatsoever about it. And second, nobody had done anything up to that point, and the session was already ending. I even told him in that moment that my character was a lawful good individual, had a lifetime debt to the family, and would never flee or leave unless they told him to. But I will accept this and continue with the game. He just ignored my comment. I mean, clearly, he ignored your backstory for that. Why would he care about what you have to say? He already shows that he doesn't. Now, a side note about something that happened after the first session. It seemed that this GM was managing 2 groups and that in the following sessions, we would encounter them. I think 8 players in total. Holy boy. We decided to do a joke session to know each other. Everything was fun until at the end of the session, the GM introduces another NPC, a little girl, again. And he says to me, I'm going to kill you. Defend yourself. I just let it slide, as this was a joke session. Why? He keeps trying to kill your character. He succeeded once already. Countdown, attack roll, and dead. The GM starts boasting about how his characters are killing machines. This was the last red flag I should have noticed. What? Next session, we board the Zeppelin and it takes off. Suddenly, we are attacked. On one side, the Zeppelin guards, and on the other, the Inquisitors, who for some reason appear out of the window. But how? We're at who knows how many feet above the ground. Combat starts, and another. Why does OP keep putting periods like that? I don't understand. What is? If you're trying to maybe have like a sudden stall, just put a comma. That's what those are for. Like I'm very confused at how OP structured this whole thing. Another NPC, let's call her Axe Girl, helps us in the fight. Us, the players, handle the guards, and it's NPC versus NPC. Axe Girl pulls out her axe. We had all been disarmed before boarding. Defeats the NPC who insta-killed me, creating an aura that if you don't pass the roll, you die. The only one left alive is the Inquisitor little girl who tries to flee, but my character grabs her to prevent her escape. Then a PC wants to kill her, but my PC doesn't want to kill a little girl, even though she killed you? The player attacks, and I ask the director if I can defend her to take the hit because I have her grabbed and restricted. No. Why? I didn't plan for this character to survive. At this point, I decided to separate from the group and leave the game when the session was over. The PCs and Axe Girl go one way, and the mine stays behind. And mine stays behind. Then, more guards appear to kill the passengers. At that moment, I thought it was because the GM wanted to give me a moment or something, but then the other little girl, the one from the joke session who insta-killed me, appears and finishes off all the guards in one turn. That's when it became clear. The GM just wanted to showcase his collection of overpowered characters to impress others or something. We ended the session and sent him a private message saying I was leaving. Oh boy. What do you think about this one, Sammy? What's your thoughts on this here? Yeah.
Again, it's another example of a lot of player agency being taken away for no real reason, which I'm not a big fan of, and I don't like. It pisses me off.
You know, I mean, this I don't even really know how to feel about this because it was just like, again, right off the bat, the GM was showing a lot, like, super problematic behavior. Again, like, I don't even understand. Like, and then OP is also kind of just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I get it. Like, you know, they already said they hadn't played any role-playing games because of all the experiences basically had ended. Like, they didn't have much actual in-depth experience. So there is that, but I don't know. Apparently she also said, or they also say, like, they kind of left when GM was like, you can have a romantic relationship with a 7-year-old girl. Ha 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 ha. But this GM also keeps bringing out little girl NPCs that are super powerful, but they're still apparently little girls. Like, I don't understand. Like, and then when they just insta-kill you, then insta-bring you back, change your backstory, send you to the Zeppelin, you're disarmed on the Zeppelin. Although as a monk, you can never actually be disarmed because your body is literally your weapon. But just again, the moment any GM basically insta-kills me or like sets me up against an encounter that's impossible for me to escape from or accomplish or overcome, I stop that shit dead in its tracks and I'd be like, yeah, no, that doesn't happen. That's not how that happens. Like, no, I'm not just gonna take that damage, or no, I'm not just gonna die because you say I have to die because you like, no. If that's the game you want to play, that's a completely different game than D&D. We can absolutely do that. You strike me in the chest, I literally expand my body so your weapon or whatever goes right through me. I'm now a cartoon. I'm now a Looney Tune that can never die. I grab your face and, like, you know, twist you around and like toss you. Like, at that point, it literally just becomes like a 6-year-old imagination battle where you're literally just like, no, that didn't happen to me. Yes, it did. No, it didn't because I did this. Well, I did this, so it works. No, it doesn't. Like, that's literally all it devolves into. The moment a GM starts to like be like, yeah, this is what happened. Like, there's a reason we have these fundamental rules for the game that everyone mutually agrees to follow. That's the point of that. To keep the no, it doesn't, yes, it does scenario from happening. Like, and I don't know, like even other thing too, being I don't understand why did OP want to protect this Inquisitor girl? Like, why?
Why?
Pretty sure the Inquisitor girl was the one that killed you or tried to kill you or whatever else. Like, why do you want to protect her? You don't have to be the one to kill her. Let someone else do it because she tried to kill you guys. So,
But it's super weird.
like, and it's just as bad. The GM is just like, well, you can't save her because I didn't plan for this character to survive. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess you better learn to improvise real quick, bucko. That's kind of what D&D is. It's a lot of improvising, my friend. You know, I feel like, you know, the best D&D campaigns are usually like, what, 20, 30% prep and like 80 to 70% improvisation at that point in reality. Like, where you're kind of just like, hey, you don't know what your players are going to do, man. You're like, you know, you can account for some of it, but certainly not all of it. You know, some of it some of the time, but not all of it all the time. And so at that point, you just got to roll with the punches, my dude. And this dude just did not roll with the punches. Good God. Just so much. There's so much about this. Let's move on. Sammy, take us home. Last video or last story of the day. Take us home, buddy.
All right. Well, this is also an annoying one, but it's okay.
Oh, joy of joys. Here we go. The
Oh, joy of joys
cringe.
is true. This is Paladin overreacts and attempts to kill player character.
Love it. Love everything
So I
about
joined
it.
a D&D group after a long time since my very first try at it, which ended in a bad way as well, but mostly DM was responsible for that. I don't recall much of that, so I don't think I'll post it. So I figured I'd join a new group at my local coffee and gaming store. The group was just starting up their first campaign. It was one inspired by an isekai anime, like think the likes of Rising of the Shield Hero and such. DM had done all kinds of cool things to make it feel like a tabletop MMORPG, so I was all on board. I asked the party about what they're playing. The answers were a priestess, functionally similar to a cleric, but with the ability to cast smite, fighter, paladin, and sorcerer. The DM permitted homebrew races and presented me with a list of classes, some from official D&D, and most were homebrew. So I chose a homebrew class, the Spellblade, a magic and physical attack hybrid. So I chose the homebrew race that supported them, the Daemon, or Demon, but spelled wrong. Not Matt Damon, but Daemon.
It's not spelled wrong. It's just an archaic spelled version of the word. That's all.
You know,
It's
except in,
just
the book about demons.
Yeah.
Which it's not spelled out. My character's backstory was that she was summoned by the same royal family who summoned the priestess, fighter, and sorcerer to act as extra support. Since they knew her real name, they were able to command her to do whatever she liked, or whatever, command her to do so whether she liked it or not, sorry. And had heard stories about how demons, upon being summoned, were nothing but tools of war and playthings to the mortals. On a side note, the paladin was a volunteer who joined them. And once my character showed up is when shit hit the fan. The fighter. Nice to have some extra muscle, especially of the magic variety. The sorcerer. Indeed, a demon at that. I heard about demons, but never thought I'd get to see one in person. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. Priestess. I look forward to working alongside of you. The paladin. Ugh, heretical beast. So we decided to spend the first session looking around town. The priestess quickly going closest to my Spellblade, as she was the people pleaser character. As we looked through the shops, we bought a new scimitar for my Spellblade, as hers was worn, dull, and cracked from using it so much before summoning. All the while, the paladin doing all he could to try to get my character kicked out of shops and tarnishing her reputation among the townsfolk, with the sorcerer and the fighter thwarting any attempts to do so. I had nothing against this initially, as I thought it could add interesting development, where the characters gradually become friends, starting as bitter rivals. So I let it slide. At one point, we see street thugs harassing a traveling merchant who had stopped in town, so we stepped in and our first combat engagement started. As we fought the thugs, the fighter wanted to only go far enough to subdue them rather than kill them, which we all agreed on. As we fought, the paladin did something unexpected. I'm going to cast Smite on Spellblade. Why? Yeah, why? We're in the middle of a fight. The paladin, you locked crossing blades with one, so I have no choice but to cast it on you to hit him.
What? What kind of mental gymnastics are we doing?
I don't know.
Dude, you missed the Olympics, brother. I don't know.
Yeah. The priestess responded with, "You could hit another thug, though." And the DM, "Just a warning, you're a paladin of the goddess of order according to your sheet. If you cast smite on someone who isn't causing trouble, you lose your bonuses for the rest of the fight, as you're supposed to be a peacekeeper, not an aggressor." The paladin backed down after hearing all that and
Oh, I
cast out
bet he
another
did.
thug, damaging him a good deal, and the priestess whacking the thug in the back of the head with her staff, knocking him out. After we had successfully won the fight with minimal bloodshed, the priestess healed up the merchant's minor injuries first, as we ourselves didn't even drop below half HP. And the merchant offered us all one healing potion um, for each of us and a small sum of gold for us to split as thanks. Later, while dividing it up, the paladin chimed in again. "I suppose the spellblade doesn't receive her portion of the gold." Both the fighter and the sorcerer, "What makes you think she doesn't deserve a portion of the gold? She contributed just as much as any of us." "Agreed. Don't forget she blocked a throwing knife that was aimed right at you." Me, in character, "I was ordered to preserve the well-being of these three, Paladin. If that proves to be an issue for you as a volunteer, you are free to leave at any time. And I was not ordered to protect you, so just these three, and to keep my own self-preservation in mind." The Paladin at this point had enough, saying that the party was playing favorites and defending a heretical monstrosity. "I'm going to attack the Spellblade," said the Paladin. The DM, "You sure you wanna?" Paladin, "Yes, I'm sure." He actually cut off the DM, ignoring the warning from before. Me, in character, "Stand down. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." I attempted to intimidate him into deciding against it. I roll and get a 15. The Paladin rolls and get an 18, so the intimidation fails. Paladin goes for the attack still. After a bit of fighting and taking damage, he got some serious punishment. Paladin, "I used the bonus from my goddess to heal me." The DM, "You can't do that." "Why not? I'm under the goddess of order." "Yes, but you're an aggressor here. You don't get any bonuses from her if you do that. I warned you about that while you were making your character and during the fight against the thugs, and you cut me off before you decided to fight the Spellblade. This is really just your fault at this point." Ultimately, Paladin's character was slain by this heretical beast, fittingly by beheading. In the Paladin's last moments of awareness, my Spellblade told him only the self-righteous use their gods and goddesses to justify their selfish actions. The Paladin's player angrily huffed, "Why are we letting a demon into our party?" The DM, "Demon?" Everyone looked at each other confused. The sorcerer player, "I'm afraid you're mistaken. Spellblade's not a demon. Spellblade's a daemon." There is, in fact, a difference. And the sorcerer explained the difference between the two. The Paladin's player, "Well, the character is just too overpowered." "No, my character was nearly killed by him towards the end of our scuffle. The priestess intervened and healed my character. We had given the Paladin's player multiple attempts to stop the PvP and restart the scene, but he refused, insisting on trying to kill my character." DM, "The character's primary stats are strength and charisma. Spellblade uses charisma for magic power and strength for physical power. You chose a class that had powerful bonuses that came with conditions, and you chose to risk it. If you want to make a new character, we can have them appear before the session is over." The Paladin's player decided to just dip out in a huff, so we just continued the session and are still playing the campaign, and it has been a lot of fun. And the tales of the self-righteous Paladin have become a bit of a joke amongst us. Thanks for reading. What makes me laugh is, if this is anything like regular D&D, strength and charisma are what a Paladin should have too. So, yeah, this is just another example of stupid Paladins. Yeah,
I mean,
fun stuff.
what I don't understand immediately is why didn't he just, if he didn't actually know the difference, if he didn't actually understand what was happening, why didn't he question and have a problem with this the moment they summoned her and she was here? Why didn't they literally be like, "Okay, why are we having a demon join our party?" And then explain it to him then, to which at which point he'd be like, "Okay, if there's a difference, okay, sure." Like, so either way, it seems pretty clear. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what the thing was. Like, if anything, it may have been at first he didn't actually care too much. He was just gonna have like a paladin. And again, people want to do the lawful stupid thing with paladins, where they're specifically like Templars during the shit. I'm forgetting the term for the event. They're not conquest, but the what was it? The Inquisition or the Holy Crusades. That's it. They want to act like knights from the Holy Crusade, where they're just exceedingly intolerant, ignorant, stupid, and just basically brandish anyone and everyone who is against them or who they don't like as heretical or apostate or whatever, and basically just start murdering wantonly and just widely. Like, it's like this is why I hate people playing paladins so much, because paladins are one of the, and I don't know if they're actually playing normal D&D by the sounds of it. I don't know what edition they're doing or what's going on, but either way, they clearly, like, paladins are one of the most powerful classes in the game. They just are. And even with the new, I guess, 5.5, reboot changes to the paladins might still technically be one of the most powerful classes still, just because of the items, the weapons, the abilities that they do and will get from the class. And a lot of the time that makes people feel like they can kind of just do whatever they want in the game, because they are inherently just one of the more powerful characters, most likely, that will be in any party. Same thing with a barbarian or a rogue, where you're just like,
the reality
I'm so good at this thing. Like, rogues are the skill monkeys, so they're just like, I can do whatever I want because I can get like great, crazy skill checks. So I can like do whatever I want to your character because I can just roll like a 27 sleight of hand check and do anything I want because I have sleight of hand. Like, shut the fuck up. No, you can't.
I think the difference in a good player and a bad player for a lot of these classes is you use those things maybe in a comedic sense, not in a detrimental one. There's always
primarily in a supportive and constructive way.
But there's also this, there's the dichotomy of, and you're in a party with a rogue and a barbarian, and the rogue just kind of gets to loot first and leave stuff that the barbarian's excited because he doesn't know any better, and it's like, oh cool, big stick.
Yeah.
And the rogue has all this gold, but at the same time you get back to town and the rogue's paying for all the drinks. It's like it's stuff like that where it's not actually detrimental. And if the barbarian came to the party and was like, I need money, I want a new big stick, and the rogue's like, here bud,
yeah, and, I got you, buddy.
Like that, where it's like,
exactly,
you're using it more as like an interaction than a detriment or an aggression. Because I love, you said all these classes, and those are all classes I play regularly.
Yeah, I love them too. Me too. I love all of those. Those are all some of my favorites. Like, except I haven't played Barbarian too much, but
3 of my main characters right now are Rogue, Fighter, Paladin, Ranger, and Bard.
Yeah, I mean, again, like my 3 favorite classes would be Wizard, Paladin, and Rogue. Like those, I love those 3 a lot. And I mean, I love Monk a lot too. But it's like that. The problem being, though, is a lot of people, though, they screw it up and they ruin it for a lot of the rest of us, because you abuse the power you have, right? Like, it's literally a perfect representation of power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely for most people, right? Where you're just like, oh, because you're so strong, because you can tank damage and deal damage, you don't have to manage how you behave. And it's like, that just shows so much of who you are as a person, that is what happens. And it's despicable and stupid and disgusting to me in so many ways. And I know it sounds very like, it's just disappointing and sad, and it makes me sound, a bit extreme, but I'm just like, bro, just like, come on, man. Like again, why are you playing? Like again, why are you trying to create so much? Why are people so... And I know people are just going to say it's just a human condition, but people are just so ready and fiending to elicit and instill conflict. They just like it. They love conflict. They love the drama, just for drama and conflict's sake. Because it's not even like conflict is always a bad thing. It's not. It is sometimes good to be able to elicit conflict because it can allow people to grow. It can allow things to progress, to shift, or whatever. But people more often than not, as with almost everything, they misuse it and they abuse it and they use it in a toxic, destructive way instead of a more therapeutic, constructive way. Like, it's just like, God damn it, dude. I will say, though, I love how everyone else in this story, though, they actually finally did something. That's one of the things I love the most about this story, is that OP didn't have to just sit there and take it from everyone, or even just the one person, with nobody backing them up at all. Everyone else was logical, rational, reasonable, and even supportive of the person who was being aggressed. Like, they did not support the aggressor or allow that behavior. They were like, yo, that's stupid. That makes no sense. Why would that happen? Why would we do that? Almost the vast majority of people were all advocating for equality, for logic, for reason, and I love that. I'm so happy to hear that that is what happened here, because oh my God, dude. Otherwise, that would have been shit like that, where it's not only like you had this type of person, but the party, the vast majority of everyone else, they're just bystanders, they just watch. They just sit there and they're just like, this is fine. Nothing wrong here. It's okay, you know? And you're like, do something! Something! Why are you... God, fuck me. But that wasn't the case here. And so you know what, OP, if you and your group ever see or whatever, good on you. I think you guys handled that situation perfectly. You have a great GM. The GM handled it great. He gave the player multitude of opportunities, and when he still chose to proceed forward, even after the warnings, he showed legitimate, real consequences to his actions. So you know what? Well done. I respect that, you guys. Fucking A. Love it. Keep those people close, because they are a rarity indeed. Any other comments or thoughts or feelings you have on this one, Sammy?
No, that was, you said it quite well. It's it's just how it goes. I think today's mix was some funny, some not so much.
Yeah, again, like I said, it was a bit, like I said at the beginning, bit of a roller coaster with this one, kind of ups and lows, highs and lows, ups and downs, you know. But hey, we got there. We finished it off, honestly, with a predominantly, I think, positive one with how this whole thing turned out. So with that being the case, y'all probably gonna get out of here now. Thank you guys so much. If you stuck with us this long, please do be sure to like and comment down below on your thoughts and feelings and opinions on the stories we've read today, some of your own experiences. You know, subscribe and share the channel. Help us out immensely, since we rely mostly on more word of mouth than any other kind of advertisement at the moment. But with that, we love y'all. Appreciate it again, as always. And we'll be sure to catch you guys next time when we dive back down into the archive. Bye, y'all.